Yep.
It's 5:30 according to the clock on the wall, so I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order, April 26, 2021. We have a couple of board members that might come a little bit later, but we'll go ahead and get started on time. I'm going to ask Rob if he will lead us in our invocation and our pledge.
Let's all rise. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you provided for us and for the many blessings that you always cast upon us, Lord. Please keep us mindful of those blessings and help us to use them to benefit you. Lord, we ask you to be with us during this meeting, be with those that are sick, shut in, and those that have lost loved ones over the last week or so, Lord. Lord, just ask you to keep us safe on our travels back home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Robbie. We are here this afternoon to continue our budget process, and we're going to have a school budget presentation. Who's going to do that today? Welcome and join us at the podium, please.
Yes, sir. I'm going to share you copies that I shared with you last time. This is operational budget.
Thank you, Mark.
You had some of your cohorts with you. I didn't know who was going to do it
Yes, sir.
today.
Do you know who, I guess you all know all these outlaws over there.
Thank you.
Get rid of this mask while I speak. Of course, our budget goals have pretty much remained the same over the past several years, except we have added some things about safety and security and our bus fleet. That was something that we had to add, and also our capital improvement things that we've added over the past couple of years, just to make sure that we keep those at the top of the list. Challenges, of course, COVID-19, as we talked last week, it's put us all kind of behind the eight ball, and we're all trying to get back to some sense of normalcy, and we've been able to do that here recently, and some sense of normalcy. It just depends on who you ask, so you may get a different opinion. But state provided 5% salary increase for SOQ positions. SOQ positions make up probably a little over 60% of all of our salaries. They include most of your principals, most of your academic classes. Non-SOQ funded positions include a lot of your career and technical classes and support positions. So we try to provide 5% salary for everybody, increase for everyone, not just SOQ. We have to add an additional counselor. There's an increase in our Virginia Employment Commission rate. We had quite a few folks file for unemployment claims that have came back to us, that rejected. Increase the minimum wage from $9.50 to $11 an hour starting on January 1st, 2022. If you look at our composite index has remained pretty close to the same over the past 10 years. So, it's basically our ability to pay, and it hasn't changed much. If you look, our operating revenue summary for the 2021 budget and the 21-22 proposed budget, there is an increase. State revenues was money put in the budget for enrollment loss and for some of the other positions, and as well as a raise. What we're asking for from the county is an additional $680,000. As you look at our revenue by source, state makes up about 62%, the county about 28%, federal is about 12.5%, and the others a little over 2%. So that's kind of how we're funded. Personnel costs, salaries 58%, benefits 22%, and then the accounts payable are about 20%. About 80% of our budget's personnel. So we're a people business, as most school systems are. School expenditures by categories: instruction, administration, attendance, all the way down to technology. And then, of course, expenditures by category. Most of our money is spent in instruction. County appropriations. If you'll look, we're asking for basically $680,000 more than last year, but it's about $500,000 less than the year before, or $400,000 less than the year before. So, you know, we took a cut last year, a little over $1 million, and we're asking for part of that back. If you'll look, that the county appropriations have remained pretty consistent over the past 8 years up until last year, and there was a change. You'll see debt service. Our debt service is going down. That additional $680,000 would be, aside from another $50,000, is about equal to the debt service that's coming off the books this year. And that's kind of where we're at. Any questions from me or Tammy, or any of us? You know, and we did talk a little bit last time about some of the COVID funding and our plans for that money to help out with some future renovations and some additions that we can. I think that'll go a long way as far as encumbering any large debt for the school system.
Anybody have anything of Dr. Burnett?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mark.
The next item on our agenda is to set public hearings for the school and the county budgets.
I just recently sent out a revised copy of the budget that has a few changes to it. One of the few things that you have is we had not included, and which we had talked about before, of having all employees with the county being $12 an hour. I know we talked about it before, and the Carroll Fire and Rescue is the only group that did not make that match because of the number of hours they work. And with January coming up, they're going to be $11 an hour, so minimum wage will go to 11. Felt this year would be a good year to move them up to the $12 an hour. That was about a $30,000 change with the VRS and the Social Security and the other cost above it. The other item that I had that was included in here on the revised budget that was just sent to you is the Commonwealth Attorney over the past few years has had a unfilled position. In other words, they have the position that they're allowed to fill. However, in the past, they've used that funding to offset some of the cost in, I think it was last year, offset some of the cost in supplies, those type of things. Well, this year, he's planning on funding that position, which is is about a $59,000 increase. So I don't have a choice, but other than to add that into the budget this year as an additional employee. There's with the new laws and the things that are going on this year in the General Assembly, it appears there's going to be more court cases. So he felt like it was a good year to do it. So I've added that in there. Other than that, there's a few changes to healthcare. We're trying to get our final enrollments in and change those numbers. But at the bottom of the spreadsheet, you'll see that we are $324,546 out that we would have to come up in somewhere. Also, in advertising the budget, there is some money that will need to be included in the budget for, it's the, and in just a second, I'll be able to tell you the name of it. It is called CRRSA2. It is money that would be provided to the school system in order to, for the CARES recovery funds. They have sent a list on the things that they were looking at providing and purchasing with this. Let's see if they're looking at replacing the boilers in most of the schools. Well, it actually looks like all of them. And roofs in the high school, Laurel Elementary and Gladesboro.
Roof.
High school, yes. So, and then windows replacement at the Carroll County Middle School and I'm wanting to say Fairlawn, FES?
Fancy Gap.
Fancy Gap, that's it, Fancy Gap Elementary School. So.
Well,
Those
where are
would-
the boiler replacements?
Fancy Gap, Gladesboro, you're going to excuse me for not knowing, GVES,
Gladesboro.
Gladesboro,
Gladeville.
Gladeville, yes. Laurel, is it Oakville?
Oakland.
Oakland, there you go. Carroll County Elementary, CCEC, and Carroll County Middle School are all boilers. 2,
Is
4,
EC
6.
the Ray Center?
Yeah.
So you got 1,
And
2,
middle
3,
school?
4, 5, 6, 7. CCMS. I'm guessing that's what it is. I didn't get any vowels with my papers, but
Hadn't they just converted that one
Yeah.
to middle school?
CCMS.
2018.
It's under the list for boilers.
Tracy, how old was it when they replaced or converted it? Was it an old boiler? Was it giving them problems, or do you know?
Well, it's all fixed now. It's all like new. It's all been redone. Put a new burning head and all in it.
They might. Are they replacing ductwork or anything with it?
Shouldn't be. It's
I wouldn't
hot
think.
water.
Yeah, okay.
There's 675 that's been approved for it. And then there's the high school. It looks like 820,000 on the roof there, and 300 on another one, 265. Now, I might have my initials wrong. This ain't the first rodeo, but it says CCMS unless there's something else. But those that total amount will have to be put in the budget so that after July 1st, that money can be used and put on those systems. So that's the only other change other than the shortage we have.
My question is, wasn't part of that supposed to be going to that auxiliary gym if the study worked out?
Well, there's additional funds that have been budgeted that they're planning on using. However, I don't think that money will be able to be spent on that project until after the school year. By the time you engineer it, bid it, I mean, they've got until December of 2023, 24,
24.
2024 to have that money spent. So it's going to be pushing it to get it.
It won't happen.
So
The amount for the school traces, it's included in the proposed budget. Right there, that 250,000. Right.
now that, yeah, that's for the engineering on the
Yep.
thing, on the school thing. And they, I believe they're starting that process as soon as possible as far as advertising for a firm. There might be some options. I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible to do it by then. There might be a public-private partnership that can, or not a public-private partnership, but a design build.
That's just what I thought I heard last week, but I'm not sure.
I think what I heard, if they had money left over, if it could be used for that. I may be mistaken. I would like to have a discussion about at least Laurel, because I don't know, it depends on how close we get the gas line out there, but they may want to wait,
Well, that's what they're anticipating to spend those funds in. And I just pointed that out because after July 1st, if it's not in this budget, then we'd have to do a budget amendment for it. And that requires another advertisement. So after July 1st, they will not be able to spend that money until after them, and they're using it on capital projects. It's not going to offset expenses, operating expenses, it is.
Can we approve? Go ahead.
I don't understand you to say those numbers were already in the budget that we were given tonight.
No, what we would have to do is amend the budget to include under the school system additional federal funds of $3,710,499.28.
Do they know they're getting those funds for
Yes.
sure? Yes.
I guess I should have asked Dr. Burnett, but on page 14, there's a line other revenue, almost $1 million for each of the 2 years, budget years. What is that from? Is that
I had the same question. That is for use of schools, other just miscellaneous revenue that they receive throughout the year. It can be
that doesn't include in the federal COVID money or anything? Okay.
no, that's not any. That is local money that they have reimbursement of fees, those type of things. Any type of revenue that's paid outside of us, the state and federal government.
They rent school buses in the buildings from time to time. I think that's where all that revenue comes from.
That's a significant amount of money, really.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in prior budgets?
Do what?
Is that in prior budgets?
Impair budget.
prior budget.
Yeah.
Yes. The 970,000 is budgeted over the last several years, close to that number.
It's primarily made up of cafeteria sales and then other payments from other localities.
Do you anticipate having a balanced budget for the county by the time we have the public hearing?
I think that as far as balanced budget, the only place that we're off is the 324,000. If the board would like, I could pull out miscellaneous items out of different parts of the budget and balance it. It's just the direction that the board would like me to go. I think we could pull some more out of the economic development. Just to let you know, the budget for economic development has grown a lot over this past year, but it's mainly due to transfer the debt over from a county debt line item to the economic development to separate and better track it. In economic development, a lot of the other than the debt service, many of the things are pass-throughs, like the debt service. However, the other projects generally come through the board for approval anyway, and if they needed to be appropriated at a later time, they could possibly have done that too. So it just depends on which area we'd want to look at. I mean, there's a 225,000 in there. That's really not I mean, in the past, other than in the 21 budget, there was no money budgeted for it. I think 100,000 was budgeted in 2020, and in 2019 there was nothing. So you could actually pull part of that money out of there. You could budget it, you could balance it with the economic development projects and also with our capital improvement. I think we have $500,000 budgeted for future. We could pull 100,000 out of that, and that puts you at about where you needed to be, unless there's another area in which you wanted to recover those funds or try to take that partially from.
But we still have one more work session before we have to really balance it, correct? Next Monday?
Well,
Can we do that even after we set the public hearing?
yes, you can adjust it some after the public hearing. It would be nice, though, to possibly advertise the balanced budget.
And the public hearing will be at our next regular board meeting for that, is that correct?
That's correct, on the 10th. I can balance the budget by those two items, and then we could advertise, and if we want to make a change at the after that time period, it's possible.
Well, you know, I know we discussed at the last meeting, splitting that debt service takeoff that the schools got, splitting that with them.
That's the only way
And
I
balancing it.
I still feel that way.
If we split it with them, it would,
Balance the budget also.
yeah.
We have no money set aside in our budget for reassessments, which is kind of, we wanted to do that so we wouldn't have to take one hit every 4 or 6 years. So what's another thing that's not in there?
And that's a very good point. The capital project reserve, we have money budgeted in that. At the end of this, when we get closer to the end of this fiscal year, we'll need to separate the money that's carried over from this year as far as through our capital project reserve, and this will give you the opportunity to save money in the future for a lot of things that we really need to do.
I think that's,
I'd
I think
like
we
to-
need to leave that if we
That's
can.
why I'd like to leave that there.
My choice would be to try to have a balanced budget for the public hearing, but how we get there is open to question.
I agree, I would too.
Was that position with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, is that covered by the comp board?
Yes, but the revenues have already been budgeted. The revenues for that position was in the past, well, and this year, where they had their increases and their raises. Those numbers that are in the budget are the exact numbers that will be reimbursed through the comp board for whatever's spent compared to wages. So to make it a little clearer, from my understanding, that if you do not fill the position, you're allowed to move that money over to another expense. So they were using that other expense as a reimbursement, so we were still getting the money for what we were reimbursing. The position wasn't filled. Now you still need everything you had before, but the position's in there, and it's funded by the compensation board.
Anyone want to suggest a direction for Mike to move forward on a balanced budget?
I'm going to go ahead and stand by what I said a while ago with taking it from splitting that with the schools and balance it that way. I think we took a big enough hit on ourselves with everything else that Mike's cut, and I think that's just the fair thing to do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that idea. It's what I felt all the way through the budget thing and not changed within the last week of thinking about it. I agree with that.
So that, what you're saying, that would be splitting the difference?
Splitting the difference with them.
And that would be 162,000?
No, it's
340.
300 and it's,
40.
it's 300 and something.
It's 680.
680 is what the difference is.
Oh, split this.
Yeah.
I thought we was going to use we thought we would cut half and they would cut half.
No, I feel like that's what I'm thinking. We take this to cover that. Take half of that.
So it'd be 340,000.
Yep.
I misinterpreted you split.
Sorry.
We misinterpreted what we was going to split.
Yeah.
There you go.
You speak to that 680.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm thinking. A lot of that is, my understanding, is debt service. That's come off. And we've been paying the debt service on it. I feel it. And after cutting 3.7 million out of ours, like Mike has done, I think it's the only fair thing to do.
Is that something we do by recommendation, or is that something that requires a motion?
I think that you can direct me to advertise. I think the direction would be to advertise the budget. I don't think I think it would be, you would need to make a motion and vote to approve the budget. And what I'll do is, to approve the public hearing of the budget, which can be adjusted at another time. I mean, it's not set in stone until we have a public hearing and you actually finally vote on it. If it's a direction of the board, we'll split the difference and balance it and then have the public hearing, if that's the consensus.
And the school board budget will
Be
reflect,
advertised alongside,
but that'll be reflected, that change in there.
yes.
Well, in that case, it sounds like we need a motion to set a public hearing for the school and the county budgets for May the 10th. At 6 o'clock or as soon as we can get to it.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll advertise our public hearing for May the 10th. That's all I had on the agenda. And if there's nothing else, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. See you on the 10th, gentlemen.